Salvete discipuli. In today's lesson, we will read how Clemens is going to repair his shop and go into business. Clemens is a popular guy. He's going to make a lot of friends, but as you can imagine, Eutychus is still not happy that Clemens does not pay the protection money. Clemens mox tabernam suam renovavit. Clemens soon repaired his shop. Fabros conduxit, qui valvas murosque refecerunt. He hired craftsmen who fixed the doors and walls. Okay? So there's no stated subject, so we assume the subject of the previous sentence. So this is Clemens, and we use the preposition he. So he hired craftsmen. Then the qui, you see, is referring back to the fabros. They are the understood logical subject of refecerunt. So they are the ones who fixed the doors and walls. Multas olas ornamentaque vitrea emit. He bought many bowls and glass ornaments. Okay, so the que here is what means and, okay, but don't let the fact that the que is interfering distract you from the fact that ornamenta vitrea go together. Okay, so glass ornaments. Ceteri tabernarii, quam Eutychum valde timebant. Okay, this is a lengthy sentence, so we're going to translate this part first and then move on to the rest of it. Okay, other shopkeepers, although they were very afraid of Eutychus, what did they do? Clementem libenter adiuvabant. Were helping Clemens gladly. Okay. Clemens is a nice guy, and so he's now in the neighborhood. He's opening up his glass shop. The other glass, shopkeepers, they're afraid of Eutychus, but they're helping Clemens. Here's why they were helping Clemens. Nam Clemens comis erat, et eius invicem auxilium dabat. For Clemens was kind and was giving help to them in return. Okay, so eius, dative plural of the demonstrative is eia id. So eius is what means to them. Invicem is this adverb that means like reciprocally. Okay, so or in return. He was giving help. Dabat was giving help to them in return. Facile erat ei lucrum facere, quod pretia aequa semper postulabat. It was easy for him to make profit because he was always demanding fair prices. Okay, lucrum means profit, from which we get the word lucrative. Okay, ei is the dative singular of is eia id. So to him or to her, ei, or for him in this case. It was easy for him to make profit. Quod, because he was demanding fair prices. So he's not trying to gouge anybody. People enter his shop and they say, oh, this is actually a really good price for a glass bowl of this type. And so they're buying his stuff. Haec taberna ut dixi prope templum Dei Isidis erat. This shop, as I said, was near the temple of the goddess Isis. Now, what is this ut dixi, as I said? Okay, now, you've learned that the word ut with subjunctive means in order to, in order that, or so that. But when it's not subjunctive, so dixi here is just indicative, I said. In that case, ut is translated as. Okay, as. Now remember, this is Quintus talking to King Cogidubnus back in Britannia. So he's been telling this whole story. So the ut dixi is kind of an interruption into the flow of the story. It's Quintus saying, oh, as I said already, King Cogidubnus, this shop was near the temple of the goddess Isis. So Dei Isidis are genitive singular. Ad hoc templum Clemens, qui pius erat, quotidie adibat. Clemens, who was pious, used to go to this temple every day. Okay, now I'm translating the imperfect of this verb as used to do something. Okay, that is an option for an imperfect. Usually it's was doing something, but used to do something is also an acceptable translation of the imperfect in some contexts. Now, the verb ibat just means was going or used to go. Used to go to a place, you add ad to the verb, but you still have ad for the place he used to go to. So it would be an over translation, say, used to go to the temple. Okay, so you drop in English, you drop one of the odds, but notice that in Latin, there are two odds. Okay, so Clemens qui pius erat, who was pious. Because remember, Clemens, even way back in Pompeii, Clemens had decided that he was a devotee of the goddess Isis. He no longer was interested in serving the Greco-Roman gods. Ibi deam Isidem adorabat, et ei ornamentum vitreum saepe consecrabat. There he used to worship the goddess Isis, and often he would consecrate a glass ornament to her. Okay, so grammatically this is pretty straightforward. Just culturally, when you make a donation to like the temple, to the goddess, okay, even if you're donating something like a glass ornament, okay, it might be that the priests accept that donation. They might even use it for their personal use, like they might use it in their living quarters. But because you donated it to the temple and the temple staff, that object now is understood as being consecrated to the goddess, okay? So you would not consecrate something that's not nice, because that would be an insult to the god or goddess. And once it has been consecrated, you could never take it back. Okay, so he's starting to practice more and more worship of the goddess Isis. Sacerdotes qui templum administrabant, the priests who were running the temple, mox Clementem cognoverunt, soon got to know Clemens. Okay, because he's coming to the temple a lot, and they're noticing him. They're saying, oh, that guy, he came from Pompeii originally, and now he comes to our temple a lot. Have you met him? Yeah, he's really nice. His name is Clemens. So this is kind of what's happening. They're going to be inviting him then to deepen his relationship with them and the goddess through this temple. Deinde Clemens Isiakis se conjunxit. Then Clemens literally joined himself to Isis. Okay, so himself say, he has formally joined the Isis religion. Now, the Isis religion in ancient times was one of a handful of things we call mystery cults or mystery religions. Okay, typically what would happen, they would give you a book which was like the initial starter pack of like secrets about the goddess. And once you had learned those and you'd passed tests showing you know them, that you knew that stuff, then you could then advance to the next portion. Now, the temple itself would even have several different rooms depending on how deeply you were initiated into it. You couldn't go to the next level until you passed the test or whatever. So there was an incentive to continue to deepen your knowledge. So he's just starting out. He has joined himself to Isis. Sacerdotes ei librum sacrum dederunt. The priests gave a sacred book to him. Again, ei, dative singular, to him. So again, as I said, This is just the initial book, okay? There are secrets about the goddess Isis that this temple claims to have that they're not giving Clemens yet, okay? He has to stick around for some years before he's going to make it to be fully initiated. In quo de mysteriis Dei leggere poterat, in which he could read about the mysteries of the goddess, okay? By the way, we don't know what these mysteries were. The people that were initiated into this were told that you don't tell this stuff to anyone who's not also initiated, and they did such a good job of keeping their secrets that we don't really know. I mean, it would be a marvelous cultural and historical thing, like were we to find the book that they gave Clemens, were we to find a copy of that buried in the sands of Egypt somewhere, it would be fascinating for us to learn what some of these mysteries were. Clemens in templo cum sacerdotibus cenare solebat. Clemens used to eat dinner with the priests in the temple. Okay, so the verb solebat means to be accustomed to do something. With the infinitive of the thing you're accustomed to doing, you can translate this as just used to do something. And remember, earlier we showed how the imperfect all on its own can also mean to used to do something. So you could have just simply said, Clemens in templo cum sacerdotibus cenabat, okay? And that could be translated as just used to eat dinner. But if you want to emphasize the fact that it was something he was accustomed to doing frequently, you would use solebat. In cella templi habitabat feles sacra. In the sanctuary of the temple, there lived a sacred cat, okay, a feles sacra. Remember when we were back in the building, I showed you that the front of Book 2 has the same Egyptian cat statue that Mrs. Grover donated to what we call the Susan Grover Library of Classical Studies that is back in room 224 that next year, God willing, you're going to see, okay? So in the sanctuary of the temple, there lived a sacred cat. This is fun. You know, there's a cat, and so Clemens is going to get to know a cat. Clemens eam semper mulcebat. Clemens always used to pet her. Okay, so when he came into the sanctuary and the cat was there, he would stoop down and he would pet the cat. Okay? Et ei semper aliquid ex patera sua dabat. And he always used to give her something out of his own bowl. Okay, so remember, he's eating dinner with the priests, and they would give him a bowl of food, and the cat was there, and he would take some of the food and he would give it to the cat. Mox plurimos amicos Clemens habebat. Soon Clemens had a lot of friends. Okay, so everything's going great for Clemens, people. He's now active in this temple of Isis. He knows the priests. He's even made friends with this cat. And he's got a lot of friends. The other shopkeepers like him a lot, you know, because as we heard earlier, he helps them as well. So Clemens is doing just great. And remember, let me remind you, Clemens has not been paying that protection money at all. Everything's going great for Clemens despite the fact that he does not pay that protection money to Eutychus. Uh-oh. Nam tabernarii qui Eutycho pecuniam inviti dabant, for the shopkeepers who were unwillingly inviti giving money to Eutychus. Okay, so now guess what's about to happen, people? Everybody else is realizing Clemens doesn't pay the protection money, and everything's going great for Clemens. Everybody likes Clemens. He's prospering in his business. Okay, for the shopkeepers who were unwillingly giving money to Eutychus, paulatim clementi confidebant. Little by little were trusting Clemens. Okay, so paulatim is this adverb that means little by little. Okay, they were trusting Clemens. Tabernarii Eutychum inimicum putabant, Clementem vindicem. The shopkeepers were considering Eutychus an enemy. Okay, so putabant literally means like were thinking something to be something. In this case, they were thinking that Eutychus was an enemy. Translated here, they were considering Eutychus an enemy, and understood, you want to understand here, they were considering Clemens a champion. Okay, so now they're like, hey, we don't have to pay protection money anymore. Clemens doesn't pay it. Everybody loves him. And you know what? Eutychus isn't doing anything about it. So Eutychus is the enemy. Tandem omnes Eutycho pecuniam tradere noluerunt. Finally, no one wanted to hand over money to Eutychus. Now, notice, literally, it's everyone did not want to. Okay? Everyone did not want to it makes sense in English, but perhaps better English, no one wanted to. Okay? What no one wanted to do, tradere, to hand over, pecuniam, to whom? Eutycho, dative singular. Is Eutychus going to stand for this, people? Eutychus, ubi dehis rebus cognovit. Eutychus, when he learned about these things, okay, memorize as your main translation of de, about, okay? It can mean down from, but most of the time it means about. So Eutychus, when he learned about these things, operas Aegyptias collegit et eiis fustes dedit, gathered the Egyptian hired thugs and gave them clubs. Eiis is the dative plural. So literally gave clubs to them, but just as good in English, gave them clubs. Uh-oh, people. Uh-oh. Those Egyptian hired thugs with clubs, you know what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to go now and do to Clemens what happened to the previous shop owner who didn't pay the protection money. Iste Clemens inquit Eutychus. This Clemens, said Eutychus, molestissimus est, necesse est ei poinas dare, is very bothersome. It is necessary to punish him. Literally, it is necessary to give to him, ei dative singular, punishments. Okay, so it is necessary to give to him punishments. Better English, it is necessary to punish him. Ille impetus nostros diutius vitavit. That one has avoided our attacks for too long. Okay, so diu means for a long time. Diutius means for too long. Impetus nostros, our attacks. Operae postquam fustes caperunt, the hired thugs after they took the clubs, ad tabernam Clementis contenderunt, hurried to the shop of Clemens. Folks, this is not good. This looks really bad. Okay, like I told you, they are heading to the shop of Clemens to do to Clemens exactly what happened to the previous shopkeeper who wouldn't pay the protection money. And remember, they found him dead in the street, and the shop was ransacked. In the next lesson is the dramatic conclusion of this story.